Good morning, everybody. This is Michael Nelson with TLC Tech. Thank you very much for attending. Okay, so one of the new things right now, you all are all muted, but we have set this up that this now includes audio. So if you've got a microphone, you can actually start asking questions now. So today, again, let me introduce Jack Reedy. He is our business development manager for TLC Tech. He's going to be helping me do some show off things here. Today, the whole goal of today is really about showing off some of the new things that have changed in Teams. We started these back when COVID broke out, and we thought, we'd help everybody for a few months. A few months have turned out to be a lot longer than I think some of us expected. And in the interim, Teams has made some really cool changes, and I wanted to just do a quick webinar today to kind of give you an update of the things that have changed. Okay, so everybody should be able to now see the Teams. Right now I'm in the general TLC Tech Cloud. Jack, you can see that?
Yep.
Okay, so we've got everybody there. So I've got about 10 or 11 things that I want to show with you all really quick. And in no particular order, I'm just going to start in. So we've talked about, remember that we have, these are all the individual teams. So we have TLC Tech Cloud, we have private webinar show off. These are the teams. Within the teams, we have channels. These channels, before, when we talked before, all of these channels, whoever was this channel had the permissions of whoever had access and the permissions to the team itself. Something that they've changed is that they've now added the ability that you can add a channel, a new channel. We'll call this one test private, but here I can change it so that it's either accessible to everybody on the team or only accessible to a specific group of people within the team. So let's say that you have a management, let's say that you had a team for management, but you wanted to have a channel for HR that only select people inside could do. At that point, you would just simply make it private, go to next, and then it would ask you who you wanted to add into the channel. You'd go ahead and add the particular members, and that's how you keep a public channel more private. When I say public, meaning everybody that had access to this channel, this team, normally would have access to all of the channels. You can make new channels private. One question that may come up that I'll try to answer in advance is that you can't actually, I've tried, and you can't actually change the edits on existing channels. So if you wanted to change who has access to it, you'd have to start a new channel within the team for that. And as a reminder, you can pop questions into the question bot, or you should be able to unmute yourself and ask questions. Actually, would somebody, let me see, Nelly, Mike, or Joe, would you guys see if you can unmute yourself and ask a question? Okay, one of the really cool things that's happened that I was really excited about, this happened a few months back. Jack and I are talking here, and let's say I've got another video or I'm in another meeting and I want to be able to be in that meeting, keep it present, but I don't want to, but I still want to chat with Jack. So what I can do here is simply use this little pop out window. Sorry, wrong one. Pop out here on the top right. It says pop out the chat. What that does is it pops open another window. So now I could actually be, if you see right here, I could actually be in two different chats if I wanted to be at the same time, keeping those so I don't have to go back and forth. I have found this very useful if I'm in a meeting where it's not really an actively participating meeting, but I need to pay attention, but I still need to get a quick message out to somebody. As much as I hate to admit, occasionally I do multitasking, sometimes I do, so that's how you can do that. The beauty of this is that you can pop out any of these things. So let me show you as well, Jack, I'm gonna do a video call to you really quick. A reminder to mute yourself so that I don't, so we don't have that problem. Okay, so it's not letting me do video because I'm on, actually, let me turn off my video here. You can see Jack. Now you see here, I'm already in a popped out window. So it pops that out and open on its own. I can still do this pop out on the chat, and it knows since I'm in a meeting, it just opened up the chat window that I had with him. If I wanted to pop out a separate chat, I could just simply come here and that would pop out. You see that it was, like I said, it was smart enough to know I was in a chat already with Jack, and so it just opened up the chat window in the meeting. In this one, that just, I can pop that open as a second one. Let me see. So you can do that with calls. You can also do that, I'll close this chat. You can also do that with documents. You can pop out, if you've got files, you can pop out a documents window. So you can get in here and be able to have other things going on and have multiple windows popped out and open at the same time. Again, always look for the pop out is going to show up here to the top right, and that's how you can pop things out. While I've got Jack on the video, I'm going to jump to something that's kind of cool, and it should allow me to do this, is turn on live captions. So in this, oh, my microphone is muted. Jack, we're going to probably have some reverb here.
Yep.
So when I'm talking now, you can see that it's actually saying, and it shows my picture because I've got an image already in there. Jack, you can go ahead and talk for a second.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing.
So it knows that Jack was the one talking because it came through his microphone. So this is how you can do subtitles throughout the meeting. For those of you like me that are on the aging side and don't want to have to keep things turned up super loud, this is a really, really nice addition. So again, you just go into your 3 ellipses and you have the live captions. You can turn that on, you can turn that off. I'm going to go ahead and mute again. Okay, so live captions there. Okay, so we've talked about the private channels. We've talked about multi-windows popped out. One of the things, Jack, I'm going to go ahead and hang up on this one. One of the things that has in here, it's not as big of a deal, but if you guys are using Teams for instant messaging, which I'm sure a lot of you are, we use it extensively in my company. One of the things that happens is you end up with dozens upon dozens of chat history windows. So I have a chat with Hector, I have a chat with Lisa, I have a chat with Lisa and Hector, I have one with Jack, I have one with Jack and our account manager. I probably have 30 different chat windows that I've done over the past several months. Now, some of them I just use occasionally, but others I use quite regularly. And what I was finding is I had a problem always trying to keep track of the ones that I use most of the time. So one of the things you can do, which is really cool, it's not as obvious here, but it's called pinning. So what I can do is it's effectively making this a favorite. So you'll always see down here, you'll see right here, recent. That's what you should be used to seeing. If you haven't pinned any, Jack and I are here. He's the one I'm going to talk to mostly. So I can do a pin, just point out here that I can also pop out the chat window from here. But when I pin it, it will show up now as a pinned message, and that will always stay under the pinned. So if you've got lots of chats going on, like I said, I've got about 30, but there's about 8 that I use most of the time. For the others, when I don't want to scroll through that list of the other 22 looking for it, I can just search for the name. So if I just search, it'll show me Lisa or my Jack and Lisa chat. So that's a quick and easy way to find your chats when you've got lots of them going on. Not only does that work in chat, but that also works in Teams and channels. So right here, you can see I've got my Teams. I can go in here. I can pin this channel to the top, and that's going to show up here at the top now. So if there's some primary channels that I use on a regular basis, if all of these are open and you've got a lot of teams that you're involved in, they become kind of a pain. Keep trying to find them. So all you simply do, click on the ellipses, pin it, and that moves it up to the top of the Teams channel. Any questions so far on those? Okay, not seeing anything there. So what I'm going to do at the end is I'll unmute everybody, and then we can just do, as I like to call, we can play Stump the Geek and see if you guys have questions that I haven't answered yet. So we've talked about pinning channels and chats. I know we talked briefly about plans. What I want to show you is right here, I created a plan, a Microsoft plan. And this is one of the newer features that I really, really like that Teams finally added. I don't know about you guys, but in my email, I live and die by my tasks. So this one right here, some of you may use flags. I don't like using flags myself. I just create tasks. So if I go into task in Outlook and I create a new task, I can never spell when I'm supposed to. Webinar show off 3. We'll have that have a start date of today. We'll make the priority high. And you notice right here, it now shows up that today I've got webinar show off. So that's going to be a task that is due today. They have now added into Teams this really, really awesome thing called Tasks by Planner and Task, Planner and To Do. So if you notice, I've got tasks, I've got planned, I've got assigned to me. So let me jump back for just a second. If I go into the Teams and I've created a plan inside of the team. This one I called the webinar show off plan. Again, for those of you that did not do, if you haven't seen Microsoft Planner, if you just go to our YouTube channel, just Google TLC Tech YouTube, and you'll find, yeah, we now have a YouTube channel with all of the videos that we've done. There's a webinar on Planner that'll go in depth on how to use Planner. But basically it comes down to you have buckets. So let's say I'm planning this webinar. I need to plan agenda. That would be a bucket. I can add a new bucket of invites. So in here I can have, let me say I want to do a agenda. I want to assign that to agenda. I will go ahead and assign that to myself, and that'll be enough there. I'll do an invites, send email. And again, this can be assigned to anybody in the organization. I could assign this to Jack, but for right now, I'll assign it to myself, and I'll have a due date of tomorrow. Add that task. So now I've got these tasks that are in Microsoft Planner. Let me again show you how that shows up. So if I go into Planner, Planner does kind of stand alone. So again, there's the webinar show off plan. Those are the things that I just created. There's the due date. So I can get to this lots of different ways. Planner is a standalone application from Microsoft 365, but it pulls in now into Teams. So I can add a plan into Teams. Just a little reminder, if you're going to use your plan inside of Teams, start it from within the team, not from Planner in Microsoft 365. It's just a little odd thing that Microsoft has, but that's what you want to do. So start it in the plan, and the way to do that is you just simply hit add a tab. You would add a, let me see, search for Planner. Oh, I've already added it in here, that's why. So it, sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. Grab add a plan here. You can do it within any of the channels that you want. And you can also cross over and get to this so you can see any of your plans in one place inside of Planner. But back to the original point of the story, which is the Microsoft Tasks by Planner. This allows me, if you notice, the email, I created that as a task inside of Outlook. You've got tasks and then you've got planned. Plans are things that you create inside of a planner. In here I can see assigned to me. So this tells me that was the send an email, the agenda, and the to do. This tells me where it's associated. So that's in my webinar show-off plan. That's in the next webinar. That's in the fundraiser plan. Remember over here in Microsoft Planner, here's the 3 recent plans, and you can see what's been assigned to me. And then I can cross-reference that and see that in Teams. Again, going back to the point that truly I believe Microsoft's ultimate goal is to make Teams pretty much your primary desktop way that you use almost everything. I am not going to be surprised when email shows up as a tab inside of Microsoft Teams. I haven't seen that yet. Don't be surprised when that shows up. I am sure that it will, because they're already starting to pull over tasks. So again, I've got the webinar show off 3. Let me pull open the email list again. So here's my tasks, and let me make this a little bit smaller. So what I'm going to do now is I can open up the task. I can put in notes that'll carry over to the other side. The other thing I can do is just complete it and give it a second, and webinar 3 is going to drop off because I just completed it. So again, it crosses over all of the areas that you use Microsoft applications. Any questions on tasks or how to use the tasks by planner and to do? Okay, nothing yet. Again, pop in the question mark if you do, or raise your hand. I haven't seen anybody raise their hand yet. Remember, tasks are different than to-dos that are assigned to you. To-dos are assigned to you inside of a plan. And Renner, so the question, Renner, let me go ahead and unmute you real quick. And for some reason, it's not letting me unmute Renner. So your question is, you no longer use to do. No, you absolutely can still use to do. And if you go into Microsoft, you can go into here, go into, let me see, all apps and to-dos. So you still have the to-dos. To-do is basically now the new task. So the tasks that used to be in Outlook are now becoming tasks inside of to-do. It's part of Microsoft's evolution of moving everything into one centralized system. Tasks inside of Outlook used to be completely self-contained inside of Outlook. They've now started moving it over into here. And if you look at the to-dos, so I've got my tasks, but I can also see planned. Again, this comes into assigned. These are tied. I'm going to skip that. So these are things that have been assigned to me and items that are planned inside of a planner. So no, they've not, it's an evolution of to-do. So tasks and to-dos are becoming the same thing. Does that answer your question, Renner? Let me know if not, and we can come back to that one. Okay, so we talked about showing tasks and to-dos inside of Outlook, how they move over. So tasks inside of Teams. So now for myself, I used everything inside of Outlook for my tasks. I don't have to do that anymore. I can now do everything that I need to in here. I can add a task. Michael needs to do, add that. Now I can click in, I can give it a priority of important. I can do a due date here. I can put notes. And then the really cool thing is that I can now do a checklist. So this would be task 1, task 2, task 3. And so now I can go in, again, I still don't know how to type. Now I can go in and I know that I have sub items here. So I have a checklist that I need to go through. So I can click in, find my checklist. All I have to do is click in. Okay, I've done this one. Go ahead and mark that off. I can add a note. Now, let me show you what happens. So now I've added a note. Let me go back into, so this is called Michael needs to do. go back into here. I have my Michael needs to do. It's already moved over, and there's the note that I added. It does not move over the checklist into Outlook though, just an FYI there. Again, I think ultimately their goal is to get us out of, as a desktop client, my guess, and again, this is not knowledge, but a guess, is they're going to be, the goal is to get only email inside of the Outlook client. That would be my guess, because they're trying to move everything else over to Teams as much as possible. So we've talked about how that crosses over the tasks going back and forth. We've talked about tasks in Team and inside of Planner. A new one that's also that you may not have noticed is files. So files are, here are the files inside of my various Microsoft Teams, and this tells you where it's located. So this is in my webinar show off team. Those are all webinar show off. So that's all inside of this team, my webinar show off. And if I go into the files here, you'll see I have the email messages, all the outlines, everything that I've got here. So those are the files inside of this particular team. I think I have some in here, maybe with Jack as well. No, there's not a file there, but let's go ahead and add a quick Word document. Jack main in webinar show off. Okay, I'll just create that doc real quick. Now I will go back to my files inside of my Teams, and this will show me everything that's inside of my Teams documents. It'll take a second probably for that one that I just created to show up. But you can see, yeah, there's the Jack main in webinar show off. So these are only the items available that are stored inside of Teams. But let's say that I'm in Teams, I'm doing something, and I want to get a document that I saved in my SharePoint or my OneDrive. All I have to do there is go to Recent, and this is going to show me, you can see OneDrive, Test Team SharePoint site, Webinar Show Off. So this will actually show me all of my recent documents that I've had. I can also go into my OneDrive storage here, and you can also add cloud storage. You can go to Dropbox, Box, Google. For all of you that are our partners, I'm sincerely hoping that none of you are using those. You're all here because of, most all of you are very interested in the SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, and the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, but there is the ability to tie in external cloud storage that way. Okay, so you've got, again, when you go into files, and again, if you don't see it, if it disappears, remember, you can just click down to grab, because it's only going to let you have so many items on this sidebar. So if you don't see it, just click in here and go to your files. You can go into, again, recent is across your 365 ecosystem. Microsoft Teams is items that have just been stored inside of Teams. Okay, we've done that. We've talked about live captions. Let's go back a second and talk about apps. So they are adding tons and tons and tons of apps all the time. So if you go into all, again, I got here by going to apps, clicking on this, and then going into more apps. That'll bring me to the entirety of everything that right now ties in. Let me see, Joe, I think you guys use Zoho, so there's a plugin for that. You can do a plugin for Microsoft Forms if you wanted to pull a form. If you wanted to be accessing forums on there, you can do YouTube, Trello, let me see, Microsoft Power Apps. You've got the tasks and planner by to-dos. If any of you are not yet using Bookings, really, really cool feature where you can share your calendar, but have a lot of control over how people can book with you. You can say, I only want this in these timeframes within these days. So there's a way to pull that over. You've got Microsoft Project. Again, there are just tons and tons. SurveyMonkey, if any of you are using that. There's just an unbelievable amount of items in here. Adobe Creative Cloud. So all you have to do is click on that, go into one of these, add it, you'll often have to log in. So if you're using Adobe Creative Cloud, you've got to log into that. So you'd be able to log into that one, then you'd be able to access your documents that way. Again, if you can see, they're trying to pull as many things into Teams, again, trying to get it to effectively become your desktop application. And again, down here at the bottom, you can get to it two different ways. You can go here, do find an app, or you can click down to apps, and then that brings up everything that's available. You can search by different things like connectors, so you can connect to different systems. If you're doing popular apps, top picks, some of you are on the HR side. I know I've been seeing ads for Workday. I know some of you out there are using Clio. So there's a lot of different options in here. Secretary Bot, I tried that. I didn't particularly care for that one, but some people do use it. Again, there's just a ton of things that are tying in here. So that's apps. A new one that I love is, if you notice right now, it says I'm busy because it knows I'm in a meeting and I'm in a live broadcast. So it knows that I'm busy. But how many of you have had where you just need to go offline for a couple of hours and you don't want to be bothered? You don't want to have the pop-up messages coming up saying, hey, you got this message. What you can do now is you can go in and set a status message. And in here, you can say, I'm offline for the afternoon. Now, if I want to know when people message me, I can do that. But I can also say, clear the message after when? 1 hour, 4 hours, custom this week. I'm going to say I'm going to do this for 1 hour, done. So now, Jack, would you do the same thing so that I can show them on your side what pops up? Just say that you're offline for the next hour and set it the same way that I'm offline, and then let me know when you've got that set up.
Sure thing.
So once Jack has that set up, then I'm going to go in. So when I go in, let me go ahead and get out of that now. So when I go into Jack, nope, he's not got that set up yet.
Should be good now.
Okay. So when I go into here, I now have a status bar that says I'm offline. So anything he wanted to, and we've started using that in the leadership in my company, is saying, hey, I'm going to go do some deep work. We have, by the way, a great book called Deep Work by Cal Newport. It's a book I recommend to a lot of entrepreneurs. But we'll put up a message saying, I'm doing deep work for the next 2 hours. That pops up, I know. Now, if I wanted to, I could get through this. So remember when I put in the status, I could say, show when people message me. So Jack, go ahead and do an @Michael for me, please. And then I'll talk to you about what that means. So what Jack's going to do is he's going to give me an @Michael, which is actually making sure that it gets my attention. And in just a second, we will do that. So if you notice, that now just popped up because he did the @Michael, which is @, and then if I type, it'll find the person. Oops, I'm in the wrong chat. If I go here and I do @Jack, it'll give me the ability, sorry to push, but this is urgent. So at that point, if Jack has allowed right here in the show when people message me, that's the @ symbol. So if you get an @mention, it's called an @mention, it will interrupt you. You can say, nope, I don't even want to know about those. Bam. Jack, go ahead and give me another @mention, please. So I'll go into another channel. Jack, let me know when you've done that.
Sending it now.
Okay, apparently that caught up, and it so that didn't have enough time to catch up. But you can tell it when you're in here to not allow things to come through. Oh, I cleared as to what I did. Sorry about that. So that's a way that you can let people know that you're offline. That will follow through. Another thing, how many of you have ever been on a group text message that somebody put you into a group text message and then 2 hours later, you look up, your phone's blown up. You've got 38 messages because you're in this hateful group chat inside of texting. Microsoft found that the same problems were occurring in Microsoft chats. So what, and in my company, we have a dispatch channel that involves like 5 or 6 people. It's really, really noisy. So there's a couple of things that you can do. One is you can right mouse click here and you can mute. So what mute does is it still gives you the ability to see the channel. You can still click in there, but it doesn't make any more announcements. It doesn't tell you or pop up that there's a new message. It doesn't give you that unread messages in chat. So when you mute it, you still have access to it. You can still see everything, but you're not getting all of the notifications, which has been a life sin for me. It's it can be kind of a nightmare at times. So again, you can mute when you do that. So the other thing is you can leave a group chat, and I don't know if, let me see, so yeah, so there's the Lisa and Jack chat. So inside of here, I can also leave that group chat. If I do that, that is going to make it just a chat between Lisa and Jack. So if you get looped into a chat, into a group chat that you don't want to be involved in, they might loop you in for just a few questions, and then you find that you're getting notifications and you don't really want to be part of it anymore. If you want to remain part of it, but you don't want to get the notifications, you simply mute it. If you don't want to be involved at all and you just want it out of your list completely, you can just leave the chat. That takes care of that. So those were the quick and dirties that I had. That was the goal of today. I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody. Attendees will have, yeah. So now you have to be able to, now you will have to unmute yourselves. But now let's play Stump the Geek and see if you can ask me anything. Joe, what do you have?
So Michael, I noticed that I can see you on this chat, but I don't see the icons or the pictures of other people. Normally when I do a Teams, everybody shows up. Is that something you select?
So if you notice right here is I'm using TLC Tech Cloud. I'm not using my primary tlctech.com account. I never want to do that on a live video because that's a live chat stream inside of my company that expecting some level of privacy, and I don't ever, so in these sessions I never use our internal TLC Tech. That's why you don't see a lot of people in here. This is kind of my show off system.
But we're not showing up there, which is normally you would see. In other words, I'm live with you, so normally it would be an icon there that says JS or my picture.
No, remember we are in GoToWebinar for this. GoToWebinar is the vehicle that is letting you see my my meeting. Exactly.
You're not doing Teams as the meeting. I got it. All right.
No, but what I could do is I could create a meeting with you. As a matter of fact, Joe, is your email open?
Yeah.
Okay, so if anybody wants to drop off, please feel free. But if you want to hang, let me go ahead and cancel this one. Okay, and then Joe, I'm going to invite you into a meeting really quick. Cancel meeting, get that out of here. Okay, so now I'm going to do a new meeting. Joe, Joe, you're Joe dot.
No, J Souza.
J Souza.
At CFM.
Equip.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there we go. Invite Joe. Bam, send that. Okay, so Joe, you should have an invite for that now. I'm going to turn off my camera there. Y'all can still see my screen?
Yeah,
By the way,
the invite hasn't come through though.
If you notice, there's also a new screen that you're going to notice when you join, is that it will automatically give you options here. So I can turn on my camera, I can turn on background images. I can blur. I can do any of those things. It'll let me choose my audio. And the other thing, by the way, something that's new is most meetings with multiple people, they're muting you out of the gate. Drove me nuts. It's still something I'm getting used to, but you're going to start joining meetings and figuring out that people can't hear you. So I'll use my computer audio. There we go. And I can join the meeting now.
Yeah, it didn't show up, Michael.
Okay, that may be because I'm in this private account, but this gives me one other really awesome thing that I wanted to show you. And no, it won't let me do it without you in here. Oh, no, it will. Okay, so when we're in a meeting, there's a new feature when you go to share, whiteboard. Super, super cool. Is that now, but this only works in a scheduled meeting. It doesn't work if you're doing a one-off meeting like I just called you in the inside of the company. So now what can happen is I can now start doing meetings, and if you have a nice mouse pad or drawing pad, you can do that. You can do text, move it around, and this is for everybody on the meeting. So you could also open up a document in here, share, whiteboard, do all of those things. It's a really, really, really awesome feature. This is fairly new. So again, you can do this, grab that text box, move that around, add text. So somebody could be taking notes.
Michael, this is Craig Stradley.
Hi, Craig. Yeah.
We were talking about an app or plugin like this called Envision with you before.
Yeah.
But this looks like it's more integrated right into Teams.
Yes. Yeah, this is built directly into Teams. Now, they say never do anything live that you haven't done, and I'm going to break my rule. Open an app. So you can also, so this is just, okay, so I downloaded this from the App Store. I have never done this, but I had never launched it before. But now, so it's opening up the whiteboard. So I think what this is likely going to allow me to do is have, oh my gracious. Okay, I may have too many things going on with the fact that I have a Zoom meeting and a team meeting but yeah, Craig, I don't know if this will give you all the functionality that you would be looking for, but what I'd encourage you to do is to play with this and see how this works for you guys. Because there's some definite power in there. One other thing before I forget, I'm going to be sending out an email in the next few days, but one of the other things, I'm not sure if you know, when you send out a Teams invite, let me do this in Outlook. Let me see, I'll do a new meeting. Inside of here, I can do a Teams meeting. If you notice, I have a dial-in telephone number now. That is an add-on that is available inside of Microsoft 365. If you want a dial-in telephone number, the first license is $12. That gives you what's called the call plan for your entire organization, and one license for you. Additional users are $4 per user per month, and then this number automatically shows up. It will be the same number for everybody in your organization, and if you have two meetings going on at the same time, then people would have to use the phone conference, basically like any other meeting system like this. You just put in your 9-digit number, and then you're dialed into the Teams meeting. So that's also a feature that's available.
And we just accepted that feature for a couple of lines at Mogavero. It's working really well. Thank you. I don't know if that coincided with an update to Teams, but my calls window looks completely different.
So is that on this one to right here, Craig?
Yes, on that window.
Yeah, because you got, quite honestly, one of the features, and we don't broadcast this much, but you can actually use Teams calling like a normal telephone, but the license that you have only allows for a limited number of outgoing minutes per month. If you dial out, that's an outgoing. If people dial in, that's included in your monthly fees. But if you use it to dial out, then that becomes a billable event. Again, I think you get something like 1,000 minutes a month. But past that, they start billing. So if you use it, you'll find out. Turns out one of our partners got an email saying, "Hey, you're going to run out of minutes." You're like, "What in the world?" They had no idea why. Oh, sorry, it's not per user. That's actually for global for the company, 1,000 minutes. And one of the guys in their organization didn't like the way his microphone sounded, so he'd go into the meeting and then he'd call his cell phone and he'd talk from his cell phone, but that was an outgoing call. He was using it a different way than was expected, and so that's what it was using up their minutes. So just keep in mind is that's limited to a little. I think it's a little over 1,000 minutes for the organization per month. Microsoft does have a full phone system. We're not ready to talk about that yet because it's just not. We work with a company that does VoIP, that does a lot of VoIP packages, and quite honestly, I'd like the Teams calling feature. I'm not ready yet to give our phones up over to Microsoft, and until we drink our own champagne, we never introduce something out to our partners. So, other questions that people may have? Unmute yourself, ask a question, or pop it into the chat window.
Hey, Michael, I know you've
Yeah.
covered this before, but the past sessions of these Teams meetings or trainings are on your website.
Yeah, so again, I'll show you real quick. All you have to do is go into, it's super easy, inside of Google, just TLC Tech YouTube. Do that. This will take you straight to the YouTube channel. Click on videos and you'll see all the videos that we've done. So in here are all the 3 different ones that we did on Teams. This one will show up probably within 4 or 5, 6 days. It'll be online. Craig, the Whiteboard app is just simply called Whiteboard. So if you go into, let me see, I'm still in a meeting here. So all you have to do is go in and oops, no, I don't want to leave the meeting. Cancel that. All you have to do when you're in, Craig, try doing this with another person, schedule a meeting in your organization, go to share. Again, it has to be a scheduled meeting, share, and then you should have Whiteboard. If not, then all you have to do is go to your, let me see what it's called. I think it's called the Windows Store, or no, App Store. Microsoft App Store, click inside of there, and then you can do a search for Whiteboard, Microsoft Whiteboard, and download from the App Store. Get it, launch it. So that's all that takes.
Different than accessing it from the apps right in Teams, because when I do that, it doesn't find it within Teams when I search for apps.
So if you go inside of apps here and search for Whiteboard, no, you have to, no, so it's, oh, I love Microsoft sometimes.
Isn't that ironic?
Yeah, so it is an app from the App Store that integrates, because you can't, here's my guess, I don't know this for sure, but because I can't launch it unless I'm inside of a scheduled meeting, they're pulling another app inside. I cannot explain to you the logic of why they do this, but again, it was very counterintuitive to me that the only way you can get it is through sharing. So if I stop presenting, let me see, so I'm back to my meeting with Joe. If I share the content, it shows up over here. Oh, Craig, you're talking about Envision. Look at that. I didn't even notice that before. So my guess is that'll tie in directly. I would try them both. There's going to probably, Envision is a paid subscription. My guess is that you're going to have more options available in there. That would be my guess, but I don't know. So play around with that, kind of check that out.
Thanks.
Yep. What other questions do we have, good people?
You mentioned bookings.
Yeah, so
As an
Microsoft,
app?
Microsoft bookings.
So let me tell you what we're trying to do. So we've got a outside salesman and he needs customers to contact him for like a web training.
Yep.
And rather than the back and forth of, oh, I'm available on these days, are you available on those days? Is this where you could say,
Oh God, yes, you will
check.
love this.
Okay, Andrew was asking about this and he was thinking, we were trying to figure out whether we could do it within the phone system. We're using Jive.
No,
Or
so let me show
whether,
you. So I'm going to launch, and I'm going to move this quickly because now I'm getting into live data. So let me move this over to my other screen. So what we do, as a matter of fact, so I just had a reminder that I have a meeting coming up tomorrow that somebody booked via from 10:30 to 11. So what I do is in my signature files, I have what I created is I created special signature files for a 30-minute or a 60-minute meeting. I just click down here, say there's 30 minutes. Now, when I click that link, it takes me to my Microsoft Bookings page. Okay, so today, 30 minutes, I'm available at 11:15. I am actually open from 11. My next appointment isn't until 1:30. Maybe it's 1 o'clock today. But what happens is I have rules that say I want 15 minutes free time before and I want 15 minutes free time afterwards. I don't want to book between 12 and 1. I don't book on Mondays and I don't book on Fridays. So this is my 30-minute meeting availability. You can see I only have one tomorrow. Next week would go farther out. So those are different things. And then they just click in, choose, add the details. This is all optional. This is something I would strongly recommend. What do I need to know about this meeting? And make that required so that they have to answer it, because the meeting doesn't give you a lot of details other than the names. And I've had potential vendors or somebody that wants to show me something. I don't remember, they book it 2 weeks out. I don't remember their name. I'm like, what in the world is this meeting about? And that's how I know. So, and Joe, you will notice on the if you go to the YouTube channel, there is a whole session on Microsoft Bookings. That one's about a 40-minute, so it's not a long webinar.
okay, I'll pass that on to Andrew. It's something he's going to be dealing with.
Oh yeah, he'll love it. And the suggestion, by the way, is I created two different types. I created a 30-minute and a 60-minute because, quite honestly, I don't want everybody having that option. So it's kind of, are you a 30? So a 60-minute that I really want to give you a chance. I would suggest you just create the two different ones and then send out the ones you want.
So you may hear from him more on that, but okay, yeah,
Sounds good.
This will happen after I'm gone, so I'm fine with that.
Understood. What other questions do we have today, people? Okay, well, I think that takes care of everybody. Thanks again for joining. I hope this was useful, and we will have more of these upcoming in the future.